Cartoonopolis is a one-man play about my little brother. He's got autism and he's got an American accent. He's never been to America. And it's a story about him and how we as a family kind of help him cope with his autism and yeah, and kind of exploring his imaginary world and how he's found his confidence with that imaginary world. So on stage we create Jack's world and we basically create Cartoonopolis. I remember about 12 months ago going into the back garden with Jack and playing with him. It was the first time he'd ever told me about Cartoonopolis, and he was like, oh, I've got this amazing world called Cartoonopolis. And I was like, oh, what's that? And he was like, oh, let me show you. And he started showing me around all these different places like the Cartoon Diner, the Cartoon Library, all these different places. And I was like, this is amazing. So it's a story of me telling Jack's life through his cartoons and his eyes and his world, really, as best as we can do it. I play roughly, well, about 25, maybe 26 characters. It's a lot of different characters. I play my mum, I play my dad, I play my brother, and I play all of the characters that inhabit Jack's world. So yeah, as you can imagine, it's quite a lot to learn, running around, doing all that kind of stuff, but it's great, it's really fun, because Jack's world is so fun and it's so kind of free form, and it just allows you to play and be silly and be like a kid, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to be a kid forever, and we all have that inside of us, and we all think, you know, I want to be a kid forever, and he really embodies that, I think, and that's what we try and get across in the play, that it's okay to be different, it's okay to be kind of, you know, playful, and even when you become an adult, it doesn't matter.
I think because it's playing different characters, and certainly within this piece, because Lewis is playing his family, he plays his mum and his dad and his brother, and then all these characters, that the Cartoonopolis moments are quite big and robust and fun, and whereas there's the sort of more touching side for his family and the heart of the piece. And I think it's just finding the way that the piece flows, really. But I mean, it's a difficult thing to do, don't get me wrong. It's for Lewis to do that for that amount of time, but I think the way that the piece works, you kind of buy into it. I think Lewis just feeds off the audience in terms of, yeah, I think as a performer, that lift that you get just takes you through it, really. It is humorous because Jack himself is a very funny young man. He uses a lot of stuff from films when he talks. So he could, for instance, quote a huge swathe of Chicken Run or Toy Story or Aladdin. So there's that performer side to him. So I think the humour comes across in that. But then there's a huge amount of heart to it as well, because it is about the difficulties of living with a young man with autism, as well as celebrating just how great that can be as well. So it's sort of a bit of everything, a little snapshot of life, but because it's framed around this idea of Cartoonopolis, which is basically a world that Jack plays out in his garden. It's a little bit like someone doing long form improvisation, where he will go out there and just create tens, 20s, hundreds of characters that you go and play there with. So there's just this wonderful world of creativity and freedom and fun. So I think it has a bit of everything.
Come on, Lewis, let's go. I want to take you to another place that I like to call Cartoonopolis.
Jack, what's Cartoonopolis?
It's an imaginary world that me and my imaginary friends and family like to play. Quick, Lewis, jump in this car. It changes to any color that you ever wanted.
I think it's important that while he's got all these amazing things and he can create all these characters within an instant, the same guy struggles to do the things that we take for granted, like, for example, getting a bus and all those things. And it's important to say, he's awesome, but equally, this guy needs help just as much as anybody else. I didn't want to Hollywoodize it. I really didn't want to kind of say, this is autism and this is how terrible it is. And I really wanted to write an uplifting story about Jack and how he can succeed and he can do things. And I wanted to give him a voice. I really kind of want to help eradicate disability ignorance, and that's kind of so many people just don't understand disability, they're scared of disability, and I feel like I wanted to write this play to kind of prove to people that people with disabilities can do so much more, and they're not limited to what they've kind of been given in life, and that's why I wanted to write it, and the process has been very different. It's been a very kind of collaborative process, and we've devised a lot in the room, and that's been quite different, especially because it's a one-man show. I'm on my feet a lot of the time, creating, improvising by myself. Usually you have other actors to kind of, oh, now you speak a bit and then I speak a bit. It's all me, so it's kind of that's challenging in itself.
It's a bit different directing a one-man show. It's a little bit more intense at times because there's only you, and actually in this show there's both myself and Chris Tomlinson directing it, so there's sometimes 3 people in the room and only one of them's an actor. I think the real difference is just being really precise with, probably a little bit more precise with the direction in terms of going, there's very certain moments that you have to hit to see all those different characters, because Lewis must play sort of 25 characters odd within the piece. And I think there's times where you need to leave him alone for a bit rather than just sitting there and watch them do it. So sort of put a bit of direction in, step back for an hour or so, let Lewis get on with it, and then come back and see how he's done it. So I think it's a little bit softer in some ways directing it.
We're never gonna make it to the Cartoonopolis Carnival. We're gonna be stuck in this traffic jam for hours. The Cartoonopolis Carnival? Traffic jam? Yeah, we have one every year, duh!
I think it's an honest look at autism, but I think it celebrates a young autistic man, Jack, for what he can do, really. And I think it's heartwarming and quite humorous. I think come and see it. It's a great little piece.
Stay your thanks a while and pay them when you part.
I must go tomorrow. I'm troubled by what may chance or breed upon my absence. Besides, I stay to tire your royalty.
We are tougher, brother, than you can put us to it. 1 7-night longer.
The Winter's Tale's always been one of my sort of favourite Shakespearean plays. I loved the story from when I was young, and I studied it both at A-level and at university, so I considered that I knew it quite well. And when we were going to go for the RSC's open stages again, I decided that would be a good choice, because it's got lots and lots of characters in it and lots of storytelling. It's really a show of 2 halves, really. The first half is very dramatic. It's really about a jealous king he's a tyrant, really. He overcome by this jealousy, and he throws his wife into prison. He banishes his baby child. It's quite a dramatic, powerful story. And then the second half, 16 years later in Bohemia, is in another world where it's all comedy and light and music and singing. So it's really a show of 2 halves.
Drawn or thrown into a sheepcot. All debts are too few. The sharpest too easy.
Is the old man ever a son, sir? Do you hear? Like you, sir?
He has a son. Who shall be flayed?
Oh, way up.
comes those that I've done good to against my will, and already appearing in the blossoms of their fortune.
Come, boy, I am past more children, but thy sons and daughters will be all gentlemen born. Ah. Oh. You are well met, sir. You denied to fight with me this other day, because I were no gentleman born. See you these clothes, eh?
It's always quite difficult with community theatre. We have lots of people, and trying to get people all to come together at the same time. We've got 50 in the cast, and obviously rehearsals have been very difficult. When you're working with amateurs, they work, they've got families, other commitments. The winter comes and everyone's sick. So it's not like working with professionals at all, who are there, you know, they're on it and they're straight away. You have to make a lot of concessions for it. And I've really had to really plough through a lot of it quite quickly. And it's a great shame because you can't put a lot of detail onto it. So you're kind of doing everything at the last minute with community theatre when you can really get everyone together. But what we've been really lucky with on this production is that we have had groups of people working on it, like Jill and her team, who have made the costumes, 150 fantastic 18th century costumes, which are absolutely brilliant. It looks phenomenal. And we've been so lucky with that. And we've got, you know, people building sets, making props. We've got a dance team of 16 that have come in that are working on 8 different dances. We've got a new soundtrack that we've been working on the music. So the whole team has been massive, and there's been loads of new input. And it's really about the creativity of the piece that we've brought to it. And a lot of it's changed. It is our adaptation of it, but we hope that people enjoy what we've done with it. And made it quite stylised in a lot of ways. The first half in Sicilia we have based on the 18th century Venice Carnival masks. So we're working very much about masks and fans, and the kind of innuendo that went through that, and how they were used and how important it was in court. And we've looked a lot at status and the place of people in the courtiers and everything, and the whole kind of feel of it is very dramatic, very colourful. We've also set it on a chessboard. So we've got Leontes is the white king and Polixenes is the black king. And it all starts with a game of chess. And I won't tell you too much more about that, but that's how we've kind of incorporated it into the story. Then, of course, when we get to Bohemia, that's actually come to England, and we're in sheep shearing in the north of England, and it's a very bit, you know, oh, by gum, that sort of thing. So we've changed quite a bit of that as well. But we wanted to do it in period because previously we've done a lot of modern dress productions. Our last Shakespeare, which was an adaptation called After the Dream. It was a sequel to A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was a modern dress. So I really wanted to do something period, but I didn't realise just what a big take that would be, you know, big ask, because it was just so many costumes and the, you know, the set and everything. So it has been really, it's a really big production for us.
Tongue-tied, my queen. Speak you.
I thought to have held my tongue until you had drawn oaths with him not to stay. You, my lord, charge him too coldly. Tell me you are sure all in Bohemia is well.
He's described as a jealous tyrant. I see him as someone who's mentally ill, perhaps, with jealousy. But it's the point that it almost makes him feel sick. He's starting to hear noises, and it's controlling his emotions. He can't think straight. It's been building up since he was a kid. That's my story. I'm not sure whether Shakespeare intended that, but his friend Polixenes, best friend since children, he suspects his wife is pregnant to him. Perhaps he's always been second fiddle. He's been the attractive one and always got the women, and he's always felt second best. Something's been brewing for a long time, and he just snaps. He can't control it anymore, and it's just painful. And unfortunately, he sentences his wife to death. and the consequences are not good. It's like when you've done something wrong as a kid and you want to change it. You've done something that bad and you just wish and wish you could change it, but you can't. So my view is, I think Shakespeare is trying to understand how someone can try and get redemption for something so bad. And he's trying to show jealousy, pain, what it really feels like.
Hermione is one of Shakespeare's great tragic heroines. She's the queen, along with Leontes is obviously the king. So when you first see her, she's very happy, very in love, expecting a baby, got a little boy running around, very, very secure, and things go quite badly wrong quite quickly for her, really. So her husband starts to suspect that the baby she's carrying isn't actually his, but is his best friend Polixenes. And rather than asking her about it and maybe kind of getting his fears quelled, he actually accuses her in public of being an adulteress, and has her arrested. And then she's paraded in front of all the court to defend herself, and she has done absolutely nothing wrong at all. So she doesn't have a great time, bless her. She's very, very, very tough, which is one of the reasons why she's a great heroine of Shakespeare. She's very, very strong, very, very tough, and she stands up for what she is, and for her honour and for what she believes in. She's prepared to die for her honour. As with a lot of Shakespeare, the clue is in the words. So when you first meet her, she's very, like I say, very, very happy, having a lot of witty banter essentially with the two kings. She then, when she gets accused of being an adulteress, basically says, I'm not going to cry because I don't do that. That's not how I am. You have to get into the mindset of being a queen in that way. So it's not like modern day where you can rant and rave. You can't do that. She's got her honour. She's got to stand and be dignified as such. The scene really to kind of get into the mindset is the scene where she gives her baby that she's had to have in prison away to her friend Paulina to take to the king to present and say, this is your daughter. And it's that case of because I'm not a mother myself, of having to kind of understand how awful that must be to literally hand your baby over. So it's not easy, but obviously the cast is amazing. So you have that energy when you're performing with them anyway. That you just kind of start to get into the mindset. But to be honest, what I tend to do a scene like that is I have music playing, which just kind of gives you that bump, something you can just kind of clip onto.
Paulina is a very feisty character. She's the only person who really stands up to the king. Everybody else is pretty scared of him, and she doesn't really care because more than anything she's loyal to the queen, and her loyalty will go beyond anything. She doesn't care who gets in her way. She's going to make sure that the right thing happens by the queen. So it's a lovely part to play because basically I can just go for it.
I don't have that much lines, but it's a fun character to play.
Why?
Because he's like a little, he's just like a little cheeky person who runs around and stuff, so it's fun. Shakespeare plays it much different than like other ones. Because the lines are different, more like Shakespearean lines.
Yes.
Nothing but bonfires!
There's something for everybody. There's something for younger people because there is a romance going on, but there's also quite a lot of fun scenes in it. There's the drama that Shakespeare is so good, and Shakespeare's ability for women to play these strong parts is, I don't know any other playwright who can do this. So we're very fortunate to be able to play these kind of characters. But more than anything, I think it's accessibility. It makes it accessible for people of all age groups. I think it would be a fantastic show for everyone to see.
So we're running on the 12th and the 13th of February. We hope Friday the 13th won't be an bad omen. On the Thursday we have a matinee at 4 o'clock and then one at 7:30. And then on the Friday we have a 7:30 performance. We're here at the Floral Pavilion in the main auditorium, and tickets are very reasonable. They're £7 to £10, and we've got a special schools rate for £5, and we've still got tickets available. It's a big auditorium to fill, but we hope as many people will come along, even if they don't know Shakespeare or think they don't like Shakespeare. I think they'll find that this is quite different and quite accessible.